Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started in a few minutes after a few more people join us. We have a good turnout today. Please put your name and organization in the chat box as you enter so we can know that you're here. We're going to take Q&As after each presenter, and you can type your question right into the chat box. And we are recording this meeting, so we got to wait a couple more minutes for people to get in, and then we will get started. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to try to keep an eye on who's coming in, and Kendall, I'm sure you can help admit too. I'm Connie Lilly. I'm the Executive Director for the Detroit 2030 District. And Kendall, if you want to wave, is also with the Detroit 2030 District. She is our program manager. So this is our last Lunch and Learn of the year. We got a great turnout and some great speakers for you. If you could put your name and organization in the chat box, that would be great. You can put any questions you want into the chat box, and Kendall will be running through those questions after each speaker. So don't fret, we will get to them. And there's always an opportunity to talk with our speakers another time too. Just to let you know, we are recording this, and it can be found on our YouTube Detroit 2030 District YouTube channel for quite a while. But thank you for joining us, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Once again, I'm Connie with Detroit 2030 District, and we're going to have a couple different speakers with us today. We're going to start off with Tim Skrotzki from Elevate Energy. Actually, I forgot, I got to go through a couple of slides myself to give you an update on 2030. So I'm sorry I forgot to do that. I do it so often, I kind of wanted to skip right by it. But we have some new people in our meeting today that don't know a lot about 2030. So I just want to give you a really quick update. If you don't know, we have 23 districts in North America. We were about the 16th district to sign on about 4.5 years ago. To launch our district. It took us about 3.5 years to launch. We are a private-public partnership. Our program is for building owners and managers. It is free for them to belong. We have businesses that support this program, and those are our professional stakeholders. Those are for-profit businesses that want to see clean, healthy buildings and clean, healthy city and reduce carbon emissions in Detroit. We also team up with a lot of nonprofits, and those are our community stakeholders, including one here today, Elevate Energy. So what do we do? In all of our districts, we have the same goal, but we go about it differently in all of our cities. Proud to say there's 3 districts in Michigan, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, and Detroit. We're the only state with 3 districts. We're working with our building owners to help them reduce energy and water consumption in commercial buildings, and also the transportation emissions to and from those buildings. We stem from the 2030 Architecture Challenge to reduce emissions from a baseline of 50% by 2030. Obviously, we're going to be going past 2030. So now we talk more in general terms about carbon-free buildings and carbon neutral cities. And so it's kind of a broader terminology now that we use, but it's all the same goals to just reduce carbon in our buildings in Detroit. And when we build a building and when we renovate them. And if you're building a building, we would like you to try to be carbon neutral by 2030. Those are our goals. And our building members are at all different stages of what they're trying to do. And this mission. So what we do is we educate our members, we connect them to resources, and we promote change. And we try to get them to just move the needle and do something towards building a healthy, sustainable building, reduce emissions, reduce operating costs. Currently, we have 3.5 million square feet in our program in Detroit. That makes us in the top 10 largest districts. We have about 222 buildings in our program. Like I said before, we have a lot of businesses that support us, and we have about 40 of those and about 40 nonprofits. So we're a very large, growing organization with a big educational program for our members, and these people help us get there. This is our mission. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but if you want to take a second, we're basically here for our building managers and to connect them to private businesses, bring together community stakeholders to create a carbon neutral city. By doing the things I mentioned earlier, we also focus on environmental justice. We have 3 best practice groups, and we're really proud of these groups because we bring together building owners and managers of the same building type to help them meet challenges for that building type, and it's been very successful. Our venue museum group spun out to a national museum group, which has been really great this year. So next year, we're going to separate the venue best practice group and have that separate, and the museum best practice group. Our house of worship best practice group is going great. We have at least 20 houses of worship in that program. We teamed up with the EPA for about an 8-month pilot this year called Treasure Hunt Competition. Was formed on, modeled off the EPA for Congregation Treasure Hunt program. It really helped us get into some underserved communities, and we're very proud of that. And the EPA is working with us to help do this again next year and maybe spread this out across North America. We also are working with multifamily, particularly the underserved communities in the smaller multifamily building owners and managers. Sometimes we have trouble finding multifamilies to help them. If you have any suggestions or you want to help us introduce this program to them, it's free for them to belong. So please let us know. This was the House of Worship celebration. These were the 4 churches that made it through our program. We're super excited. It worked out great. It was a long project, but we were able to see them actually implement some of the things that we taught them. So that was great. And we obviously had a lot of partners. You can see it's not something that just 1 or 2 people can do. It takes a community and a lot of businesses to get something like this off the ground. Kendall is here, and she works with our building members and signs them up. If once you're a member, you have access to a free customized dashboard to help you benchmark your building. So it's an exciting new thing we launched earlier this year. So Kendall works with our managers to help them start an Energy Star portfolio manager account, learn how to benchmark their building. So it's very exciting. And we also launched a pilot with DTE. We're working with them to help them take our building members' energy data usage directly from their account, send it directly to Energy Star Portfolio Manager so we can help them benchmark their buildings and trace what they're doing and track it and help them reduce it. We, along with Ann Arbor 2030 District, have been doing this for a few months, and we're kind of in the middle of the pilot towards the end. I'm hoping that this type of product is going to be available next year down the road for everybody, because it's really a game changer to help a building owner understand how much energy and water consumption that they have and be able to track it a whole lot easier than putting it in manually. I think, oh, a couple more slides. Sorry, Detroit Energy Challenge. If you're a building member in our program, and you sign up for Michigan Battle of the Buildings, we are giving awards out next spring for the Detroit Energy Challenge for reduction of energy usage in your buildings. We're also adding on a water reduction competition next year. Our awards may look a little different next spring because of the pandemic. We have shifted a little bit on type of awards. TCF Center just got one this summer for community, more of a community focus on their work. But if you have any questions on this, it's free to enter. We're doing that with the Office of Sustainability. And these are the companies that support us. We like to show this. We also get some funding from the state of Michigan, Eagle office. And we just thank these partners because we wouldn't have this program without them. So as I said, we have 3 districts, Ann Arbor, Detroit, and Grand Rapids. It's easy to get involved. We take volunteers. We have several committees. You can be a business, you can be an individual, you can be a building owner. Just reach out to us and follow us if you want some information on our social media there. So that is it. I'm going to stop share. So that's our update of what's going on at the Detroit 2030 district. So now we'll get on to our speakers. Our first speaker is Tim Skrotzki from Elevate Energy. He's the Senior Market Development Lead. Many of you know him, and I'm personally really excited to see what's going on with the Detroit Solar Kit. So take it away, Tim.
All right. Hello, everyone. Just want to make sure, can you see my slides, Connie?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, perfect. So I'm Tim Skrotzki with Elevate. I'm the Senior Market Development Lead here in Michigan for Elevate. We were founded in Chicago about 20 years ago. We've been working in Michigan for 7 years. And our mission is to make sure everyone gets access to the clean energy economy. The first thing we're going to talk about is the Detroit Solar Toolkit, and that was a project that was funded through some grant funding through the city of Detroit. That was a partnership between Elevate Energy, EcoWorks, Great Lakes Environmental Law Center, Data Driven Detroit, Michigan Energy Options, and the Detroit Design Collaborative, Detroit. And so part of that work was to create what eventually turned out to be a Detroit Solar Toolkit. And our goals for the project was to respond to Detroit's unique landscape, leverage solar for Detroiters, and make the invisible visible. And that was, we were looking at, how can we deploy solar in Detroit, in Detroit's unique landscape, and make it something that Detroiters feel welcome from. We were doing this project at the same time as the Sustainable Action Agenda came out, and we were actually able to do outreach through that program. So all the outreach from the Sustainable Action Agenda also went into our work, and overwhelmingly Detroiters wanted solar in their communities. They wanted access to solar. So that's great news. And then also, if you want to take a look at it, below on the screen here, the Solar Toolkit is on the city's website at www.detroitmichigan.gov/solar. So what did we do? So there's numerous deliverables. We have an interactive Detroit City solar map. I'll show you a little screenshot of that. We have a Solar 101 guide, benefits of solar, frequently asked questions, fact sheets, jobs and training guide, and all these are links onto the website. We also have a building approval map, and then a financial models report, which that was primarily for the city, kind of look at, how they can do solar, whether it was city owned or power purchasing agreements, and then some solar diagrams, renderings of what solar could look like. And you can see that there's a photo of that in this shot here. And that's an example of a community center here. And this is not to suggest that you would have solar in all these locations. These are just all the different ways solar could be shown on a facility here in Detroit, right? It could be on the roof, it could be ground mount, it could be in a carport, and etc. And then also we have the solar policy guide, which one was designed for the city to look at zoning and different things the city can control. And then the other one was looking at a state level. And we all know that really the state level policy for solar is what really will let solar expand in Michigan. You can do a little bit at the city level, but it's really the state level that we would see a larger amount of solar get expanded. Hopefully some of the federal funding will allow that to happen too. So we put together a solar approval process map, and we interviewed folks from the city of Detroit, planning and permitting departments. And then we also, talk to DTE. We kind of put this map together, and I think it's a useful map for folks to kind of get to understand where and what processes they need to go through to get solar approved for their home or their commercial business. So it's a nice little tool, something for folks to look at. Some of these, can be pretty quick. And sometimes, as you can see, if your project falls into certain categories, it could take longer, right? So if you follow the guidelines, especially category 1, category 2 on the DTE side, and you don't, your project isn't off of the standards that they're expecting, it can be very quick. And you'll also note that we did this project when net metering was still in. It is now an inflow outflow, so it's a little different now, but this project was done when there was still net metering. So our Detroit solar map, it's a live interactive GIS map that sits on the city's website. And it's just a little tool for folks. We worked with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and they have an algorithm where they can calculate the solar capacity of any single building, or in some cases, if it was an empty lot, the solar capacity of that site. And it's just a little tool to show folks what is possible potentially on the roof of their home, on their commercial business, or an empty lot. So if a developer wants to look at solar, this is a nice little fun way for folks to identify opportunities for solar in the city of Detroit. And then we actually use this. We actually met with the Southwest Detroit Business Association, and they were exploring ways to do equitable development in their industrial district. The district is not fully utilized, but it's also right next to a neighborhood, right? And so the challenge here is if they were to fully use this industrial district again, they may actually increase the amount of trucks, increase the amount of pollution in their neighborhood. So how can we find equitable development opportunities for an industrial area that sits right adjacent to neighborhoods, right? And so some of the more interesting ideas are looking at the larger sites in this district that are available. There's one of these sites here is a 16-acre brownfield site, which you could potentially put 3 megawatts of solar on. That's a very small utility scale solar project, but that's about as small as you want to get for that, but it is feasible. So there are some unique ways, and this wouldn't require lots of trucks going back and forth. It would be a good use to activate land for the city, to get tax revenue, and also create a few jobs, and keep the neighborhood cleaner at the same time. So at Elevate, we look at climate action with equity, right? We want to make sure everyone gets access to the clean energy economy, and we have a process. We were founded as a nonprofit looking at energy efficiency for affordable housing. That's what we were created to do 20 years ago. That's what we still do today. We're working with the Detroit Preservation Partnership. We're doing energy assessments and water assessments for affordable multifamily housing and trying to preserve them in Detroit. Electrification. We have grant funding right now where we're working with some of those same buildings from the Detroit Preservation Project, and we're looking at how can we replace these fossil fuel burning equipment and put in all electric equipment. We also have a edict that we don't want the tenants to pay more. So there are certain types of heating systems that we can replace with electrification, with air source heat pumps, where it won't cost more than the natural gas option. It's not in every scenario, so we have engineers who study that, but we look at that. And then if the electric does cost more, then we look at putting renewables on, renewable energy that will offset the utility load on those families, and then possibly battery storage. And then again, you want to manage your loads. There's all kinds of new technology, even smart meters and smart electric boxes to help folks gravitate towards electrification. So here's a little quick, I just want to show a little quick example of a project that we worked with, Bridging Communities, Pablo Elder Living Center. There's a great little video that I can share. It's too long to show today, but we did an energy assessment. This was about 4 years ago. We did an energy assessment and a solar feasibility study on the project. We found retrofit options for the building and a solar array. They were able to incorporate all these items into refinancing using low-income tax credits and a few other innovative financing tools, but there were no incentives. It was all financing. They were able to take advantage of tax credits because there's something called syndication, in which for low-income housing tax credits, you receive money upfront for your tax credits. So they were able to do that, and they were able to do that with their investment tax credits for solar. The most exciting thing about this project is we were estimating that they would save $35,000 a year from solar and energy efficiency. And we actually studied the building 3 or 4 years later, and we found that they saved almost exactly that amount, right? The building was poorly performing before. Now it's an Energy Star certified building. It's reduced its greenhouse gas emissions. And it's just a great story of using innovative technology to create savings and to preserve affordable housing in Detroit. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about solar plus battery storage opportunities. This is a nice map from the Energy Democracy Initiative, and they've looked at electric rates in all 50 states. And then they looked at the cost of solar plus storage. And what they found was, you can look at all these other states, but in Michigan, we actually have some of the higher electricity rates in the Midwest. And so you can see that they're estimating by next year that the majority of Michiganders will be able to produce electricity plus battery storage. The cost of that per kilowatt hour will be cheaper than what they're actually paying off the grid. And so that's a really exciting opportunity. Now, we all in the industry know that it requires an investment to get to that level, right? So it's not just as easy as saying, oh, okay, I want solar battery storage. It's going to be cheaper than buying electricity from DTE. You actually have to pay for that system to go on your building to see those benefits. So it's not that easy, but the technology's there, the costs are dropping, and we're having savings. And our friends at Power Home Solar, understand this, right? And they offer up folks solutions to do this, just like many of our other solar industry friends. So another project that I'm excited to share today is a project that we're calling the Resilient Eastside Initiative. And this is a project that City of Detroit, Elevate, Eastside Community Network, a community development corporation, and Brilliant Detroit, a nonprofit in Detroit. And we came together because the City of Detroit, actually separately, the City of Detroit and Eastside Community Network with Elevate support, we're looking at creating resilience hubs on the east side of Detroit. We found out we were both doing it, so we decided let's put this project together and let's look at what we can do. Can we put together a network of resilience hubs on the east side? And you might ask yourself, well, what is a resilience hub? So our framework comes out of the U.S. Sustainable Directors Network, USDN, and they have a kind of a definition of what resilience hubs are. And so we used a lot of that information for this. The City of Detroit received a grant to look at this. So a lot of our work is based on that. And first, it's structure, right? We want water and energy efficient buildings. We want to deploy solar and battery storage, so we have backup power. So we have power during a climate event, climate weather event, right? And then we want to mitigate flooding, have resilient communication systems, so when there's an emergency, people can get information. And then also have a place that's safe, that's cooling, heating, a safe place during heating and cooling events for other people. And again, with COVID, we need to figure out ways that people feel safe to go to places and also have safe places to go to, right? And so it's not just having a building that can be powered during an outage, it's also having a place that people feel comfortable going to. So one of the most important things is having good programming, right? Everyday programming, so that people are used to going to a community center, not just to play basketball, but also to get information, also to get, potentially get access to weatherization, get access to health services, get access to, during emergencies, then getting access to potentially applying for FEMA when their basements flood, that kind of thing. And then these are the 3 hubs that we looked at. We did full feasibility studies. We have the Stoudemire Wellness Hub, which is Eastside Community Network's headquarters at 4401 Connor Street. We're looking at an 80 kilowatt solar system with battery. And then we have the Brilliant Detroit House that's in Chandler Park neighborhood, and they rehab that facility to be all electric, so that when the solar and storage get put on that building, it'll be a net zero building. And then the city is building a new community center called the Lennox Center in the Jefferson Chalmers neighborhood. And that's going to have a 70 plus kilowatt solar system with battery power and a diesel backup. So that'll be able to run for 72 hours. And potentially in summer, when solar is, when the sun is shining, that thing, if the power is out, that thing will be able to run forever. And we're really excited to say that we got funding for the Lennox Center. The other 2 we're still fundraising for right now, but the Lennox Center is fully funded, and we're going to start doing construction in spring on that. So it's very exciting. So that's what I have today. I think we're out of time. So thank you everyone for the time, and I'd love to answer some questions if people are curious of what we're doing.
Thanks, Tim. That was a great presentation. And yes, we have about 3 to 4 minutes for questions for Tim. I didn't see any questions come through in the chat. So if anybody would like to raise your hand or come off mute, or feel free to enter any questions in the chat. I know Barbara had a question about the Detroit solar map, and if it's available to Detroit 2030 district building members. I dropped a link in the chat to go directly to that map, and that is inclusive of all buildings and parcels, right? Because it's also vacant land in the city of Detroit, correct, Tim?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. The only funny thing about the map is if the site has a building on it, it will do the building. Some sites have buildings and then a lot of empty land next to it. We don't have it. You can't look at both at the same time, right? So you can't see what a building and its empty land would do for solar. But other than that, yeah, there's 2 different layers. You turn on the empty parcel layer and you can look at what empty parcels will produce, and then you turn on the building layer and you can see what buildings will produce.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tim. Just to remind everybody, this is being recorded, and we will send the link out later. So if you didn't catch all of it, no worries. These are the contacts here for Tim, but we can always get it to you at another time too. So thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go in to our next presentation. I'm excited to introduce Jay Penfil from Power Home Solar. He's the commercial industrial solar consultant. Larry Knight, who is the manager of the commercial and industrial division at Power Home Solar. And after Larry gives a little bit of a presentation, we're going to talk a little bit with Steve McBride, who is the executive director of Pewabic Pottery, one of my favorite buildings in the city of Detroit. If you haven't been, you need to go. So we're excited to hear about what they're doing over there at that building. And so we're just going to go ahead and get started on Larry's presentation.
Well, excuse me. Well, thank you, Connie. And Tim, I really congratulate you on what you're doing there. You're doing wonderful things for the community, and great presentation. Thank you. Again, I'm Larry Knight. I'm the manager of the Commercial Industrial Division for Power Home Solar. Essentially we're here to help organizations achieve carbon reduction, clean energy generation, and energy efficiency goals. Let me just start my timer here so I don't get in trouble. So what I'd like to, go over here is we'll just kind of an overview of who Power Home Solar is. We'll talk about the value of solar, some of the details, the next steps, and we'll look at a couple of case studies that we've completed here recently. So Power Home Solar is a regional company. We've got a fairly large footprint, and we have plans for further expansion. So, by doing business with Power Home Solar, you get the advantage of doing business with a strong regional company that's here for the long haul. And with 32 office locations, with offices in every state, we're still a local company employing local employees, local staff, and so you kind of got the best of both worlds there. According to Solar Power World, we're the number 7 nationally ranked rooftop solar in the country, and it's been a rocket ship. We actually started as a small company in North Carolina in 2015, and our focus area was strictly residential. And in that time, we have grown exponentially fast to the tune now where we have over 2,200 employees, and offerings in the residential, the commercial, as well as the utility segments. As I mentioned, I'm on the commercial side. We also have a utility division chaired by our director here, Matt Davis, who works with utilities to implement new programs that will benefit them and the customers that they serve. Number 520 on the Inc. 500 or 5,000 fastest growing companies, over 30 energy efficiency kits. So we do more than just solar, which I'll get to in a minute, but and we do partner with a number of pro football teams and athletic association, athletic folks. From the commercial side, we do aspire to be the leading provider of solar storage and energy efficiency solution for our commercial industrial customers. So I mentioned that because solar is in our name, but we also do, we offer storage. Tim alluded to that earlier, but storage is becoming a big deal. A large percentage of our residential sales now are incorporating batteries with their solar, and it's a major change from a couple of years ago. And so, but ultimately on the commercial side, we do, we try to exceed help our customers exceed their sustainability, carbon reduction, resiliency, and energy efficiency goals. Everything we do is in-house. We don't contract anything out, other than if we have to get a crane, we might contract that out. But otherwise, everything is generally in-house. We do the design. We do a site analysis. We've got to make sure rooftops are going to support the weight. So we've got to get in there and analyze that. We get a structural engineer to sign off on that. We'll get the engineering design completed. We do the installation. We show up in marked vehicles, so you know who's installing, and they are our employees, W-2 employees. They're not contracted out. Okay. From a value standpoint, certainly savings is a big part of it. That's the part that's more easily measured than the other components, which are sustainability, resiliency, and monetization. Obviously, by generating your own power on site, you don't have to pull it from the grid. That takes the onus off the grid, which means the utilities don't have to, upgrade. They don't have to invest in more infrastructure that may or may not be clean energy. Resiliency, particularly when you've got batteries, you've got that backup system, and it can also be used to offset some of your energy consumption when the solar is not working. And finally, monetization, particularly with batteries. It's not here in the Midwest at this point that I'm aware of, but out in California and some other states, they're starting to monetize that by utilizing aggregated services where the utilities will reach out to the customer, use that stored energy during times of peak demand, and then compensate the customer for that. So that's an exciting development that's going to be marching across the U.S., and I'm sure we'll see it here eventually. Overall, big picture, it is a proof point of commitment that your organization is committed to a sustainable future, not only for your local community, but for our global society as a whole. Just from a functional standpoint, many, there may be folks in the audience here that are not familiar with how solar works. So I just want to touch on that real quick. essentially, we can, as Tim mentioned, we can mount to roofs, either flat or pitched. And we can also do a ground mount, which is a freestanding mount, and then carports. But no matter how we're going to mount them, they're essentially going to, the sun is going to agitate molecules in there. It's going to create a DC current or DC or direct current electricity. And that works great in your car, but we need it to be AC in the building. So we're going to actually convert that utilizing an inverter. We use generally a smart inverter that, and what makes it smart is it's got some of the NEC code, dictates that when you put solar on the building, it has to shut down if there's a power outage. So for those of you that have the impression that solar is going to provide you with power when there's no power from the grid, don't take that to heart, because in reality, what happens is it has to shut down, because that smart inverter is going to see that if there's a power outage, there's no power coming from the grid. Therefore, your building's not using it. It senses that, and everything's going back through the grid up the lines. And if there's a lineman working on those lines, they're going to get a shock they never forget. So it's in the NEC code that that system has to shut down. So there's mechanisms in both the inverter and the optimizers that are attached to the panels that facilitate that process very fast. Okay, so you won't have power, but and then we do utilize optimizers on the backs of the panels for that reason, and also because solar panels are wired in a string. So it's possible that, maybe this whole row of panels is wired in a string, and so that means they're going to operate just like if you're in a caravan, you got to go as slow as the slowest vehicle. And if you pull a light out of the Christmas tree light string, all the lights go off. It's the same concept, right? So by utilizing those optimizers, we can isolate the panels so that if one panel is not functioning up to snuff, the rest are still punching forward, and we're getting the maximum efficiency out of the other panels. Okay. And the third thing that that combination of inverter and optimizers do is it allows panel level monitoring of the system. So with our system, you get 25 years of monitoring service for free, and you can set that up on a kiosk or something, so your customers or tenants or whatever you got coming in can see how much power you're generating and what you're doing for the environment. Okay. Now, so we create DC, we convert it to AC, and then that excess energy is going to go back to the grid. Tim kind of touched on it. We had net metering for a while, and now we got an inflow outflow scenario that's currently still being worked through. So at least with the current situation here at with the utilities. So okay, as far as the gear we're using, we are using U.S. made panels here. They're made in the state of Washington, called Silfab. We've got a 30-year performance warranty, 25-year workmanship warranty, and then there's also the our installation period of 1 year. Right now, we're using a 400-watt panel, and the inverter. This is our smart inverter provided by Solar Edge, and this is a 3-phase. What you see here, we also have they also provide single phase. Whichever phase you need, we can accommodate. And then this is your optimizer here. Now I'm going to start moving a little bit quicker here, folks. I'm running out of time. So from a storage perspective, we are a Generac dealer, and we use the Generac solution on our residential and small commercial. For larger commercial, it's a whole different animal. They're going to come in much larger batteries, but couple of options here. Self-supply, I alluded to earlier, you can offset some of your evening power with that. A clean backup system for power outages, and priority backup where you charge a battery and then use it, and then once the battery is full, it's exported to the facility. So okay. The process involves essentially getting an analysis of the bills, getting initial design done, and getting a proposal in front of you. We go through that proposal, make sure you understand it. If it all makes sense, then we figure out how we're going to get it funded, and we go ahead and execute an agreement. Okay, and then we'll get the site survey team down there, and what we're going to do is look at the roof, and we're going to look at how we're going to interconnect into the system. Okay, get all that information, bring it back, we get a final design done. That's going to be CAD designed engineering drawings that are going to be stamped, and we're going to use those stamped drawings to send into the building for a building permit, electrical permit, and then the interconnection agreement as well. And once all of that is approved, then we'll call and go ahead and install the system. And then once the system is installed, it's technically, operational, but we can't actually ignite it until we go ahead and get the building inspection and electrical inspector to come out and put the green tag on it, make sure we did what we were supposed to do. And then once they've given their approval on that, we call the power company. They're going to come out and do their thing. They may swap out the meters. They may put an additional meter on. They do it a little differently, everybody. But anyway, whatever they're going to do, they're going to do it. And then they're going to give us what's called PTO, which is permission to operate. And then we'll go ahead and energize that system and start producing energy for you. That whole process is going to take about 3 to 6 months generally. Now, I've seen it happen quicker than that, and I've also seen it take longer than that. But on an overall general statement, 3 to 6 months is safe. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do now is just kind of roll into a couple case studies that we did, and I want to present this is actually a low-income housing project that we did in Lansing. There was 4 buildings. Each building had 48 apartments, and we did a combination of rooftop and ground mounts there. It was done with a municipal utility. It's the Lansing Board of Water and Light, which they were really good to work with. Had to jump through a few hoops because this is not within their policies. So anytime we get outside of policy, which Tim, I think, alluded to there, then there's some hoops to jump through. So, but we were able to get that done. In addition, we had to consolidate some meters there, and we had to install a new switchgear. It was kind of antiquated, their old buildings, and so, a lot of things, there were a lot of moving parts on this project, but we got her done, and it's up and running, and they're doing good there. Okay. And then we have the city of Harrison. We just completed that. There's actually 5 city locations, their wastewater treatment plant, city hall, fire station, and a lift station. And then, and the wastewater treatment plant had 4 different meters on it, which ended up turning into a Cat 3 project, but we won't go into that. But anyway, that was done with TELP funding. So this just kind of speaks to that's tax exempt lease funding. And so that's good for municipalities and schools, gives them the ability to fund projects out of appropriated funds that they're already spending. So that worked out really well there. A couple of surprises there. We had to put in 2 new transformers. But we got her done. So, and then finally, one of our guests today is going to be speaking further on this, but the Pewabic Society is recently just got PTO'd, and it's a Detroit landmark. It's been around for a while, and I'm going to let Steve elaborate more on that. But I do just want to run a quick video. If we got, I think it's about a minute. Now I don't want that.
It's been.
There we go. Okay.
Got sound?
No sound yet.
No sound. Okay. Well, then let's
See.
I don't want to do a diagnostic analysis here. So.
Okay. We could put the link in the chat box.
Yeah.
And I can also send it out to everybody later.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that then. All right. So with that, I think that puts me on my timeline, and I'm going to go ahead and put our contact information up here. And of course, as this will be coming to you as well, but go ahead and open it up for questions, and then or we can bring Steve on, whichever you prefer.
Let's bring Steve on first.
Okay.
You want to bring Steve on before we do questions? Is that what you said, Jay?
Yes.
Okay. Steve, are you ready?
Sure. No, I'm just saying it's been, exciting project for Pewabic. So we've been online now a little over a month. So it's just exciting. Pewabic's been around since 1903. So when we look at sustainability, I mean, we're looking at it as like we've been operating for 118 years and we want to operate for at least another century. So, we're looking at it both from, environmental impact and, cost reduction. So we're a nonprofit organization. We were able to do some fundraising to help, provide, fund the construction of the system. And so, it's going to just, limit kind of our greenhouse gas emissions and also, save us some money just to make it a little bit more sustainable operation over the long run.
Thanks.
It's important to understand when we look at different properties that we have to stay within certain guidelines. With Pewabic, for example, it's a historical structure. One of the things I looked at when I started working with Steve to design the systems, I did not want to change the appearance of the building from the front. So we're able to utilize the rooftops in the back so that we could provide the power without changing the historical look of the building. And took a little time to get it done properly, but that's exactly what we did. And now it's up and running. So it's really exciting to see it.
Steve or Jay, can you remind me what is the size of the solar system? And about how many panels?
74 panels. And my brain is not good with numbers, as Larry will tell you. Larry, you got the information on the size, the kilowatts?
It's gonna be, yeah, sorry, folks. I wasn't ready for the
My bad.
question.
63 years old, my brain doesn't work like it used to.
The question of the day, how much kilowatts is it?
Though
So-
I gotta say, Jay, I mean, I think that's important for a lot of Detroiters to know. In your historical districts, you can put solar on your homes. It just has to be on the backyard facing side, right? You just can't see the panels from driving down the street. That's the general rule, right? So you can do solar. It's just, it can't be seen from the curb.
And the most important thing is to make sure that you're putting them where they're going to benefit the client, and it's going to make sense. There's some people out there that put the panels wherever they can just to make a buck. We don't do that. We have to sit down with the client. We have to make sure it makes sense for them on all levels. And it's got to look right for the building as well. So we're very careful with what we do there.
Yeah, so as far as the size, it was 26 kilowatts.
Yeah, and so from our perspective, it's like, it was really also kind of a cool statement to take a National Historic Landmark building, and say that, we're just as concerned about the future and about sustainability, but to show that we can do that harmoniously, and we, Pwabic's been growing just in selling more pottery and tile over the last few years. And we added a 2,500 square foot addition to our tile studio a couple of years ago. And so there was the same thing there of like, how do we, integrate that into the National Historic Landmark building in a way that makes sense, that complements what we're doing. And when we did that, we actually had Michigan Center for Sustainable Systems do a sustainability audit of our building. And one of the things that they identified, even though, most of our pottery and tile is made with natural gas, our big production kilns are all natural gas, the impact from electric is like bigger. And so, even though that was a smaller portion of our power, it would represent a pretty significant savings of greenhouse gases by reducing our electric usage.
I have another question for you, Steve, but I wanted to ask if anyone else in the audience has a question first. So I just wanted to ask a little bit more about how you mentioned fundraising, but can you talk a little bit about how you were able to finance or fund this project? Yeah,
so about half the funds came from the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs. We've got a really great, Michigan Council. It's the state council that does funding, and every year they offer, both operating support and capital improvement grants to arts organizations across the state. And so we applied. We put together a proposal after we had spec'd out the system, and so that provided about half the funding, and then we matched that with individual fundraising. We sent out an annual appeal to our members and supporters, and got additional funds that way. So it was a nice way to do it as a nonprofit. We're able to kind of do some philanthropic funding to offset the cost. So it benefits us long run.
Mhm. One thing I want to say also is that as a company, Power Home, like I said, wants to do whatever is best for the client. I met with Steve the first time in May of 2019. And over a period of the next 8 months or so, we're able to get to the point where the board of directors approved the proposal and want to move forward. We were happy to sit back and wait until the funding was in place to get everything started and move at their pace. Again, it's not about, rushing anything. Some people want to grab that signature on your contract immediately. We don't do that. We want to make sure that it's in your time frame, that that it's as you are able to move forward comfortably, doing things responsibly and comfortably.
Yeah, that's a good point, because there was like a time range, when we put the proposal in, then it takes, about 4 months before you hear back on the proposal. And then we had to raise the match funding. So, it was a good way to be able to work with that timetable. And then, once the funds were there, we were able to say, yeah, let's start the project.
I have a question on the structure of your building. Did you have to make any changes to your roof system or to the building structure so you could put it on and maintain it and access to it? Did you have any concerns there?
No, we targeted, some flat areas of the building that were, not the historic tile roof, but an area in the back that had a flat roof section, and then the flat roof on the new tile studio addition. And so we had the structural engineer came out and looked at everything and, made sure that it could support the weight. So we didn't have to do any improvements to make it work.
There are times when we meet with clients that don't have the same situation Steve had over at Pewabic. And one of the things that Power Home has done as a company is we partner with roofing companies to be able to offer a joint service. When we come out and do the structural investigation of the building, we want to make sure that everything is proper. And if it's going to be a necessity to replace that roof in the foreseeable future, we will partner with the roofing companies to do the whole thing under one contract, so to speak. And what's nice about that, if you're working with a for-profit company, is that you have the ITC tax credit of 26% right now. So we get that on the solar all the way across the board. On the roofing side of it, if you're doing the roof because of solar, you can get that ITC tax credit 26% on the material portion of your roofing project as well. So by doing it all under one contract, we can do it all at one time. If we go into a PACE program, we can do the solar, the new roof, HVAC, lighting, installation, anything that's energy related, all under one PACE program, and make it a great 25-year program for the client, so they can afford to do everything. And with PACE as a financial tool, we have to be able to prove on paper that the savings alone will make the payments for you. So for anybody that's looking to do all kinds of things, which is what 2030 district is all about, making your building as tight as possible with energy conservation, PACE is a great way to move forward, because it's all brought in under one contract, one umbrella. It's a off the books loan. It's tied to your tax base. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a great vehicle to be able to move forward with for those who are able to do so.
Yeah, we have presented on PACE financing. We do 1 or 2 presentations every year. If you need any help on that, let us know. It is a great vehicle. And it goes onto your tax bill, stays with the building, so you don't have to put the funding out right now. So it's a good program.
It's also off the books. It's on your spreadsheet. It doesn't show up as your debt.
Yeah, it doesn't count as your debt to your building, right? That can be a big deal.
Correct.
But I have a question for Jay and your team. The Lansing project, I know it's Lansing and not Detroit, but you're able to consolidate meters. I'd love to learn more about that, because we talk about that all the time, and I haven't seen anyone be able to do it. Well, actually, that's not true. I've seen a couple of affordable housing owners able to do it because they're managing like homeless shelters, and they've convinced DTE that the homeless people shouldn't have their own meters, right? And so they were able to have like little apartments for homeless people and have a single meter on a building. But I'm curious about the Bardville project and how that went and how those conversations went.
Yeah, happy to share that with you. we can schedule time to do that if you'd like. But on the broader, overall concept, there's 4 buildings in that project. 3 of them were individually metered, but one of them, each unit was metered, right? So we had to consolidate that one unit. And we ended up consolidating it into 4 commercial meters, not 1 commercial meter. Just otherwise it would have been a whole lot of work to rewire everything.
Yeah.
One of the things you have to look at also is that with the various levels of system, CAD 1, CAD 2, CAD 3, and so on, you can only put on a CAD 1, CAD 2 up to 150 kW in Michigan per meter.
Yeah.
So you look at your whole project and see what you need, and if it makes sense to separate those meters out so you can get more power for the whole project.
But Tim, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to ask what's the size? Is that like a 100% offset, or what's the percentage on that? On those apartments?
It's actually shoveling a lot more on that one, because all of those ground arrays that you saw there, plus the rooftops, are all shoveling into that one building. So it's actually way overproducing, and so we're getting a modified feed-in tariff on that excess.
Wow,
so
that's amazing. Great job.
Yeah. So that's a unique feature of dealing with a municipal utility instead of an IOU. And so
we're working with the city of Lansing to look at solar on community centers. So
okay,
let's talk on the side.
Yeah, we will. We'll definitely do that. Okay.
Because we don't build, right? So
right on.
we just help them figure it out.
Yeah. Are you
partnering with you on many programs?
Is your office in Lansing?
Yeah, and I'm based in Lansing too.
Okay. Well, I got to get back down here. I'm here now actually, but I got to get back down here next week. So let's try to set something up early next week if you're available.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We're making deals here.
No
Well,
problem.
thank you all so much. We invite everybody to open up their cameras, say hello, ask questions. We don't get to see each other very much anymore in person, so feel free to join us by saying hello, wave. Hi, Barbara.
Yeah, we have about 3 more minutes if anybody has additional questions for
Hi, Al.
panelists here today.
Barbara's with the DIA, Al's with TCF Center. Hi, Kurt. If anybody else wants to introduce themselves, let us know. Good to see everybody. If it's okay with you, we'd like to take a picture, a screenshot. Brandy is on here. Brandy is our new social media person for Detroit 2030 district. You'll probably meet her soon at some point, or talk to her on the phone. So we thought we'd take a photo. Anybody else want to turn their, come on, Vito, don't be shy. I'm gonna pick up Vito. Bedzik. Georgia. There's Vito. He's in his car.
Yeah, not being shy, just driving.
He's driving.
Be safe, Vito. Be safe.
Pastor Cole, are you on here? I would love to see Pastor Cole. He's one of our first house of worships. There he is.
Yep, and just like Vito, I am driving as well.
Wonderful thing about virtual meetings, right? You can be anywhere. Hi, Greg. Nice to meet you. Anybody else want to join us before we take a quick shot? We love having you guys here. We miss all of you. Can't wait to see you all in person next year. This is our last Lunch and Learn of the year. We're going to continue them next year. They turned out to be really good. I didn't think too many people would be interested, but they've been very popular. So Brandy, if you want to take a photo of us for our social media, if you don't want to be on it, I guess you gotta shut your camera off. Did you take it? Oh, she took it. Okay. All right, good. She's fast. Any other questions or comments? I guess I have a couple quick announcements. Our Detroit Sustainable Soiree is going to be at the end of January this year. It'll be virtual again with the U.S. Green Building Council Detroit Region Chapter. I don't remember what year we're on, maybe 5, 6, Vito might know. That's our 5. This is our opportunity to thank our volunteers and give some awards for some great projects. And also, so keep your eyes out for that information. Please follow our newsletter and all our social media. It's our best way to keep in touch with everybody, for you guys to know everything that's happening. We also have our progress report coming out next month. It's been 2 years. So keep your eyes out for that. It'll be digital on our website. And just keep plugging along. It's been a great year despite everything, and thank everybody for their help.
I'd take a minute to introduce one more person on the call today. That's Kurt. Kurt's one of our guys on our team, does a great job for us. Kurt,
Hi,
say hello.
Nice. Where is he at?
Kurt, are you muted?
There he is. Okay, there he is.
There I am. Yes, hi guys. Yeah, it's exciting times. I get to work with these guys, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the company growing as we move forward and doing a lot of good things for the communities and all. Really appreciate all the information too. It was very informative. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And Bob Matler, say hello.
Yeah. Where's Bob? There he is. Hi, Bob.
Hey, everyone. Happy holidays.
Yeah, you too. And Bob can help with PACE financing if anybody needs any help with that. So I think we're good. It's exactly 1 o'clock. We landed right on time. Yay. So thank you all. And I'll be sending this recording out. We do have a Detroit 2030 district YouTube channel now where all of our recordings will be housed. So if you missed something or you want to see another recording, it's always going to be there. I'm so glad that we have it. So I think that's it. Kendall, can you think of anything else that we need to mention?
I don't think so. I was just going to drop that YouTube link in the chat for everybody.
Oh, great, great.
You can easily find that.
I want to take a moment just to say thank you to you ladies for doing a great job putting this together. Tim, that was an awesome presentation. Learned a lot of good stuff there. You did a great job. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Yep. I appreciate you guys too. My mind is spinning about what you're doing too.
That's what happens. More questions pop up, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's good news.
Great.
We are currently doing in Michigan alone 300 houses a month as a company. The commercial is growing very, very rapidly as well. We closed out the year of 2020 at over 8,000 houses in 10 states. We're now in 16 states, and we're probably gonna do about 14,000 houses this year across the country. So the company is growing like crazy. We went from 750 employees at the start of COVID to over 2,200 employees now. The slide deck was a little old by a couple of weeks. We just surpassed 35,000 systems nationwide.
Oh.
So it's amazing what's going on. A great deal of battery attachment out there. You know, in Michigan, every house we do now has a battery involved with it. You know, you're not going to get anything for sending it back to the grid. You may as well save it to use it at nighttime and use it yourself. So battery attachment is huge here in Michigan, as well as other areas. And it's amazing what's going on. If you want to talk to us about solar and battery, call me anytime. Get a hold of me on Facebook, get a hold of me directly on email, whichever is best for you.
Well, thank you for the commercial.
I'm personally excited for solar taking off. So it's been a long time coming, as well as any renewable. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great Friday.
Thanks, everybody.
Again, happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate it, and don't eat too much turkey. I know I got my turkey early because there's going to be a shortage. So get out there and get your turkey.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody. Take care.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.